This is a demonstration how to use AppTestStudio on SodaDungeon2. I have my Windows settings to 25601440 at full screen. All right, let's just go over the script. So I have the primary window named just SodaDungeon2, and the platform is active application, mouse mode's active, and if the window is not visible, activate the window. A default click speed of 25 milliseconds. I've built several sections. There's the outside, the tavern, some pop-ups, the warp screen, and the upgrades. In the outside, it has sub things. So first thing it checks to see is if we're in the outside. To determine if we're in the outside, it uses these 5 colors in this section here. If we're in the tavern, it uses these 3 colors. A warp screen, that checks, what we're going to do is check for these colors. The soda upgrade screen, we're looking at some of the stars in the star field to determine if we're on that screen. Move outside moves the mouse to the far left, which kicks off a scroll. That way we can click the tavern when we need it. And also an important part is it has a limit of 1 minute. So it'll only do it 1 minute and it will repeat. Then, if there's no party at this location, then it will click the tavern. If the party is full, then we go into the dungeon for the full party. Now let's go to the tavern. If we're in the tavern, then we're going to do the following things. We're going to check for new sodas with a 5-minute timeout every 5 minutes. If there's not enough players, we're going to do some actions. And if the party is full, we're going to leave. So let's do not enough players. So in the not enough players group, it has several events. I'll just do the first one, thief. So find thief looking left will look for a thief inside this cropping window. It could be anywhere, and it's looking at the red channel of the pixels at a 85 threshold. If it does find one, then it's going to click on it, and then it's going to click higher. Each one of the different classes has one for that. Once it fills up, it'll stop clicking on the players because it's full, and the party full will take over and exit the tavern. And again, if we're on the outside and the party is full, we go to the dungeon. The dungeon actually brings up the warp screen and says, where do we want to go? There's an option to go to different levels of the dungeon. And so we have a RNG node with 3 nodes on it. The first node, there's 3 nodes. The first node clicks green 5 times. So there's an empty group here with no checks, and it says repeats until false 4 times. So after it goes, it will keep going 4 more times. That would be a total of 5. And an important thing to note is there's a continue here, so it doesn't actually go back to home. There's another 33% chance that it will click the red button 4 times. This is the other way to do clicks. Click, click, click. And notice each one of those has a continue as the after completion time. And then there's an empty one, which is the other third. And then at the bottom, there's a click go button. So that adjusts the level. And the reasoning is, if we just click the go button, we go to the highest level of the dungeon. So the monsters are harder and you get more gold, better items. But you might die sooner. And so going back down to 100 levels or 400 levels means that you kind of mix the best of both worlds. So you get pretty decent gear, not the best gear, but you're also able to get through the dungeon faster. And then the green, if you go green 5 times, the first one goes back to level 1, and then the next 4 go level 100, 200, 300, 400. That means you're going to get a lot more experience and a lot less gold per creature, but you'll last longer. And so with a combination of those, every time that you have to exit and go back into the dungeon, you will be able to skill up fairly quickly. The soda upgrades. There's a check to see if we're on the upgrade screen by checking for the star field. Here's the exit conditions. And this is just a group with the arrow. That means it's a group. The end of the scroll. That means we scrolled all the way to the end and there's nothing left. Let me demonstrate that. Sodas. This window scrolls, so it has some special properties. If we're at the end of the scroll, then we click the X to exit the scroll. If we have no money, if there's not enough money to buy something and it's kind of grayed out, then we also click the exit button. To buy a soda, you would click on the buy button. At the beginning of this screen, we have fixed position sodas that are here when we start. We have scrolled sodas, that's ones you have to scroll to. And then we have some more fixed position sodas. And so we have to address each one. The nurse is a fixed position soda. And so we can just click on it. And if the buy button's available, we can click on buy. If the miner is not grayed out, then we click on the miner soda. And the carpenter, if we actually see a buy button on the screen that's not grayed out, and then here's the scrolly part. Once it goes through all the conditions, if it doesn't find anything, then we scroll. And so what it does is it clicks right here for 25 milliseconds. Then it has continue, and then it waits 400 milliseconds. Then it scrolls the mouse over here. And that's enough to make it scroll. And so we click, scroll, click, scroll, click, scroll. So we run all these checks, and then we scroll. Run all these checks, and then we scroll. Once we get to the end of the list, and there's nothing to do, we exit. Let's see, pop-ups. So if the hire party member screen comes up, and then we click hire member. If the loot time pop-up is showing, that means that happens when you have to exit the dungeon, then we click the exit button. If auto off, then we turn it on by clicking on it. If we accidentally click the blacksmith, then we close the blacksmith. If we're on the upgrades, sodas, or customized, we click on the X button. If a green checkpoint happens where it wants you to press check before you can continue, then press the button. The janitor has one. If we're accidentally go to the details screen, then we click on the X. And then finally, if we see a green arrow, we click on the green arrow. All of these combined will let you automatically restart the dungeon after you pick a new party and restart the dungeon after you restart. All of these combined in this order will let you automatically play it. Let's run it. We'll start off scrolled over here, out of the way so nothing is working. Let's get it going. Ready and run. It's going to scroll. It's going to see that there's no party. It's going to start picking a party. It's going to randomly pick a party based on what it sees. And this is important when you're starting out because you may not have these characters, and so it'll randomly pick a full party for you. And so that's important. Now that it has a full party, it's going to go to the warp screen. It's going to do one of the randoms. In this case, it did the green, so it's going to go up to level 400, and then it's going to hit go. If I turn auto off, it will turn it back on. And then I'm going to simulate our characters losing the battle by pausing the script and hitting exit dungeon. Turn the script back on by Control-Alt-Shift-F5. Once it sees the OK button, it clicks it, and now it starts over again. Scrolls to the left, picks a party, goes back into the dungeon. There's one other thing it does. I'm going to turn it on early, and that is, if we're in the check for new sodas, there's a 5-minute wait, and we haven't hit 5 minutes, so I'm going to say don't wait first, and let's run it right away. Let's do the upgrades. So now it's going to start scrolling until it finds something to purchase. Didn't find anything yet. I'm going to weasel it over a little bit just to get it going a little faster. Okay. Now we have enough money to buy it, and it buys it, and it's going to keep scrolling until it goes to the next one. We don't have enough money. That's an exit condition, so we exit out. So that's the game loop. Now let me show you how it was built. To play, you can fill up these slots down here at the bottom, these 6 slots with your tavern guys, and there's a big list of them that you can use. If you're starting out new, the first thing you need to do is to upgrade your tavern. That's getting the stools and the tables. The reason for that is the difference between having one person you can add to your party and then a full tavern full of people. So that controls how many characters are in the tavern. And when you start off new, you only get one. And then there's the characters. When you click on the tavern owner and go to sodas, you can unlock, by purchasing with gold that you earn from the dungeon, different characters. And they all have unique abilities, and you don't even have to use any of them. It's not required to use any of them. You can play them without even upgrading the sodas. Every time you enter a new dimension, which you should do because it will advance the game, you lose all of your gold and you lose all your sodas. So you have to buy them again in each dimension if you want to. And the price scales up. This demo, we're going to make it automatically pick a team and go into the dungeon. I'm going to grab one guy instead of my 6 and just go to the dungeon screen. Go to the dungeon. The dungeon screen has a little bit of a setup here where you can change your warp increment, and it gets even bigger as you get higher level. So mine's set to 100 right now. And then there's this level thing, which you can go to different levels in the dungeon. And you kind of need to balance this because level 1, you'll kill stuff very fast. You'll get experience very fast, but the gold and the items are not very good. As you get into the higher parts of the dungeon, you'll get better gear, but it's harder to kill the monsters. They're tougher. So one of the things we're going to do is show you how to make a variation where sometimes we go to the max level, sometimes we go to level 1, and sometimes we go maybe 400 levels back and just play from there. And that way you get the best of both worlds. Able to survive long enough to get better gear, but don't get killed too fast. Let's start off by automating. I'm going to start up AppTestStudio, and we are going to make a new project. So I'm going to go to File and New. I'm going to click Next. Change the platform to Application. None of this really matters. It's just kind of helping you set the defaults for your project. And we're going to call this SodaDungeon2 demo. I'm going to hit Next and Finish. So I'm in the actual application panel. So I have my application. And something you need to set right away is the mouse mode. Passive means that it will tell the application that you move the mouse. And active means that it will actually move the system mouse. In this case, it's a game. Most games will need you to move the system mouse. And so we have it set to that. And then also the default click speed. 20 milliseconds is actually really fast. I'm going to set it to 25. And then the mouse move settings here. If the window's not visible action, what do we do? Do we do nothing or do we activate the window? I want to activate the window, especially since this is active mouse mode. So I want to move the mouse, and if the window's not activated, activate it. So let's get started. AppTestStudio works on events and actions. So you make events like a color in a certain location, and actions which would be click on those, click somewhere. Let's get started. So I'm going to right click and add a new event. And it didn't work. Okay. And I forgot to do something. I forgot to tell it which window to use. Let's go here and set the window. There's a wizard you can use, and it will show you what's running in the application. And I see SodaDungeon2 is right here, so I'm going to click on it and then hit this little squirter icon. It will then show you all the windows, the sub-windows on the game. And this game only has one window. It shows a little picture to give you an indicator. Some applications have secondary windows, which you might want to target. Hit Use. It's going to simply do nothing more than put the window there. I could have typed that in, but you would need to know what the window is called. Let's go back to our new event and hit Take a Screenshot. This takes a screenshot of the current screen. I can click it multiple times, and you can see that it's animating every time I click. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's good. And now we need to set an event. Now, I already know what we need to do is make a determination if we're on the outside versus in the tavern. For example, the cart the book here, some of the icons are on both screens. So what changes between each one? The theme changes every time you go to the next dimension. There's some kind of theme changes. So we wouldn't want to key off of that, but we want to make a keyframe. You can see how there's a exit button here inside the tavern, and there's a gear on the outside of the tavern. So this can be an indicator of which screen we're on. So let's set that up. Also, one other critical factor is, see my, I'm mousing around over by the gear. If my cursor is in the way and I'm checking for colors, I don't want it to key off of the mouse. I want it to key off these colors. So I'm going to be careful and pick colors on the right-hand side and use the left-hand side to use the mouse. Let's call this one in, outside, question mark. If we're on the outside, then we'll see the gear here. So I'm going to click on the very right side of this. I might be in the way a little bit. I'm going to click here, here, and right there. That's going to record the RGB values at those locations. You can hit the test button at the top and hit retest to make sure you're not on an animated color. Now, what do we do when we're on the outside? Well, we need to check to make sure that we don't have any characters in our queue. So if we're on the outside and we don't have any characters in our queue, and this is an example where they're not in there, I'm going to take 3 colors from this box here and use that. This would mean there is no party. If we have no party, then if we're on the outside and we have no party, what do? Add an action, and the action's going to be click on the tavern. But I took a screenshot of where I wasn't even scrolled. You can always click on take a screenshot. It'll take a current screenshot of the current screen. And now the action of click, I don't want it to be click no party. I want it to say click tavern. And I'm going to draw a box on the tavern. I'm going to hit save and run. And now every time it's on the outside and no one's in the party, it's going to click. And there's a run tab. There's a run tab. On the run tab, every time an action is taken, click tavern, it shows you. Also shows you how many clicks you've done and some other things which we can cover later. Let's do the inside. We're going to do the same thing. Right click, add an event. We'll use the same little icon here. I'm going to click 3 of those, and this is called in tavern. If we're in the tavern, what do? Well, we want to do something if we don't have anything populated on our character list. Let's add another event. This event is not enough players. Not enough players is defined by the presence of these 3 colors. Now, what do we do if we don't have enough players? Then we need to add them. The way you add them is you click on them and then you click higher and they'll add there. So we need to work on that next. Now, the characters are not in the same place every time. They have different avatars and they're also not fixed positions. So, for example, this person could be in any of these locations in the tavern. And there are some that are not shown because it randomizes them. So they could be in different places. And we need to find those. Also, as you upgrade your sodas, it gives you different characters. So like for the nurse or the thief. When you go to a new dimension, you won't have any sodas, so you'll just have a whole bunch of soda junkies, which is this character right here. What we need to do for this is we need to find this character. That's going to be something new. And we'll put a question mark here. Not enough layers, question mark. It's up to you on how you want to name it. All right, let's add an event. And I'm actually going to use this guy as my reference. Now, I want to actually search for images. And I've taken a screenshot here, and I've just called it new event. I haven't actually named it yet. Click on create new object with this image. And what this is going to do is take me to the object screen and let me add effectively bitmaps or pictures that I can reuse. And so what I want to search for, and I'm going to be very careful, I'm not going to get the background, but I'm going to drag a box in an area that's not going to change. And also my character is looking to the left. And let's call this SodaDungeon2 looking left. And I'm going to click Make Object and Use. This does a whole bunch of things, and I'll go over that. What Make Object and Use does is it changes the event that you're on to an object search. It puts find in front of that name in the event name. It goes over to the object search icon and puts in the picture that you just made. It sets the threshold to 70, the color channel to red, and you can see the image that we're going to be searching for. Let's go ahead and hit test on here. And it says that it failed. And what it did was it looked for this picture over here. And it found that this picture here looks the most like it of anything else at a detected threshold of 62.7. And it's based on the pixels. These pixels look the closest to this picture. Now you might say, what, he's right down there, isn't he? He's also looking to the right. There's another guy on there looking to the right. Let's hit retest from current window, and we found one. In fact, he's looking to the right, and this one is the closest match. And its detected threshold is 90.6. It also found it in 109 milliseconds. I'm going to keep hitting retest, and you can see that the hide and seek time is between 90 and 130, and it's finding them. One thing I could do is I can actually crop this region so it doesn't search the entire screen. And I'm doing this on the same monitor for the demo. When you're on an object search and you drag a box, this is setting the cropping window of where I want to search. And so I don't want to search this guy ever. The characters are starting about here and go to the end of the bar. And I don't need to search below the tables either. So let's just make a cropping window like this and then hit test. A couple things have changed. So now we're just searching in here. When I retest, the seek time is between 60 and 75. And it's still finding them. So this is how you can optimize your work. I'm happy with this, and I'm also happy with the threshold of, let's change the threshold to 85. I'm actually happy with this. So when the threshold is 85, which would mean I found my character with that amount of acceptable threshold, I'm going to hit this use threshold. That sets the 85 in the project. Close that and go back just to show you our settings. Here's our 85 threshold that was set. And now we can find the Soda Junkies. Directly, the immediate child below a object search is a click button, and it can be other things as well. What this does is it will center the size that you pick on the picture that you're searching for up here. This is actually setting just the size of how big of a square do you pick, We wouldn't want it to set it this big because it would click any random place in the box. We'll just set it right here. It doesn't even have to be on the guy. It can be over here. It doesn't matter. This is just a sizing exercise. Let's go ahead and save and run the script. And you can see that it's working. When they turn left, it clicks on them. All right, and you can see every time it did it. Now, I can build the rest, so let's build the rest of them. I'm going to hit pause script, and if you go to the home screen on apps, it will give you some shortcuts, which I'm going to use a lot. Control Alt Shift, then Escape. That's effectively the claw, and Escape pauses all running scripts. Control-Alt-Shift F5 toggles it on and off, and Control-Alt-Shift F1 takes a screenshot so you can be inside an app and take a screenshot if you wanted to fine-tune a position. Let's make the rest of them. It's going to be the same way. I'm only going to do the characters looking left. I'm not going to do the right version. Let me do the other way, just on the nurse one, just to show you that you can do it manually too. Highlight my nurse. I'm going to be careful not to get the background. It's not a requirement. It just works a lot better. We'll call it nurse. And I'm going to call this one, I'm just going to click make object. It will put the nurse icon down here as an object to reuse. Then I need to change it to object search. Pick my nurse object, and you can see that there. And now I need to call it find nurse looking left. Then I need to add an action immediately under it of click somewhere. And again, it's just the size. I'll just click this. This is the size I want. So again, it's going to center it on that image and click someone randomly in that size. You can also go over to the offsets and change it, and it will move. It'll draw a white box. See that white box? So when it centers it on the nurse, it will then click this far away, which would be up here. Now, I don't really want to do that, but that's what this offset does. It'll move it up 87 pixels. We'll just change this back to 0. The chef, the wizard, the blacksmith, and the owner are a separate screen. They're under this pirate person where you can click them. You can also only get one of these guys, so they're not walking around in the tavern. Set the threshold to about 85. This threshold is the relationship between the image that you're searching for and the image that you're searching against. And it's the ratio of those images is how it comes up with the threshold, which is how close it is to the actual source image. And there's no rule of thumb of where the threshold actually works. Sometimes you can set it to 90. Other times you can set it to 50, and that's perfectly fine. If you wanted to prioritize something, you could. So for example, I like the hunter. I can move the hunter up nodes by hitting Control up or Control down. That moves them up and down the nodes. You can also just drag them to the top. So if I like the thief, I could drag them to the top of not enough and drop them there, and they're back at the top. Since it's going to run 24/7, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we have this hire button. We have Soda Junkie hire, Blade Master hire, Miner hire, all these different ones, but they all share one thing, and that is the screen layout's the same, which is beautiful. I will go to add an event, and oh, look, it didn't give me the right one. So let's just get that in the state. I'll click on the miner, go back to AppTestStudio, and take a screenshot. Now I've got this screen here set up. Let's do this one. In this case, this is a common screen, so I want to grab some gold off the top left, and like this button here. I want to avoid these numbers because they might change, or the pictures might change. So if it's gold and these 3 blues and maybe a little bit of this gem here, this is the higher patron. If we have the hire patron, then we want to add the action of clicking on hire. Save, and now let's hit run. Now it's going to add them. And we also made it so it's not clicking anymore. It's not trying to click anymore. And that's because we have not enough players. Only if not enough players is going on. That's these colors down here. Let me prepare my screen. So I'm going to click on this guy and click on the Blade Master and fire them. That'll get them out of the party. Now we're back to not enough players. We'll call this party full. The party is full when it's not these colors in this slot. So how do we do that? Let's hit test. And the party's empty and it's true. Let's add a character real quick and hit test on our new party full, and that failed. So what we can do over by this AND logic is do some extra stuff. So if it's brown and if it's those three colors representing the colors there, what do we want to do? Let's go and hit custom. In the custom logic, we can say not 1 and 2 and 3. And 1 is referring to this one, 2 is referring to this one, and 3 is referring to this one. When you go into here, at the bottom, it will show you what you can use. Custom logic supports all these operators. You can use your favorite language, including parentheses, and you use the items. So you could say 1 and not 2 or 3, for example. In this case, we want to say not 1 and 2 and 3, and you can hit validate. This will check the code. So if I put 4 here, or 5 there, and hit validate, it'll actually try to tell you what it doesn't really know what to do, but you'll have to just, it tries to help you. So it says, found an unexpected 5, doesn't know what to do with 5. At runtime, if you were to run this script, it'll skip this node. Let's fix our code, hit validate, it works. We can also hit test. And so these nodes failed, and then it goes and shows you the logic. So it says not 1 and 2 and 3. It broke down into this sub breakdown, and then it says not false and false and false, which is true, so it passed. You might have to think about that for a little bit. You can hit retest, and it looks good. This is what we want. So if the party is full, what do? We add an action. The action is to click on the exit of the screen. Let's hit save and run. And it did just that. So if I'm in the tavern, it'll go out of the tavern. We're going to use that same exact logic to do the next part. I'm going to hit pause the script, go to design view. So now we're in the outside. And we want to add an event. And this is kind of cool. So our guy's still in there, but the parent picture looks really good. So in the design view, I can say, take the parent screenshot. This is a design view feature that it's just a design view feature. And that says, use the image from the parent to build the script. I can click on it. And now the characters are out of there, even though in the game, they're still here. Let's move me out of the way a bit since we're working on this part. Okay. And then we can do the same logic. 1, 2, 3. Go to custom, say not 1, 2, and 3. Hit validate, validated, tested it. And it also shows you the reference window to try to help you with your work. I'm going to hit close. And this is party is full. If the party is full, then what do? We can click on the dungeon. Let's hit save and run. And now it went to the warp screen. If I close out, it'll go back into it. Let me fire the Blade Master. We have a bit of a bug here. So we have it set so that you were to, I'm going to scoot over just a little bit. We have a little bit of an issue here. A little bug we haven't addressed yet. And that is, if we don't have enough characters, based on this icon alone, we are to click the dungeon. So let me run my script. Let's hit run. And what happened? It's clicking right there. That's a problem. So here's an issue that we have. It's also kind of in a runaway mode. I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Shift-Escape. If we're on this screen, we want to scroll. We only actually care about this part of the game to automate. There are other things you can do in this game, and I recommend you explore them. They're completely optional, but the game might force you to do them at some points, especially in the beginning. So we want to, when we're on the home screen, we want to scroll over to the left. So let's build that in there. If we're on the outside, let's make a new action. The action is the mouse move. Let's move the mouse over to here. Going to drag a little mouse move thing here. In mouse move, you drag a box from where you want it to start all the way to where you want it to end. In this case, I want it to start. I'm actually not trying to be perfect here, so I'm just saying start right here and just move the mouse. We move the mouse and we go back to home. The way we've written it, I'm going to go ahead and run it. It's just what we've just written is to just move the mouse to the left. That's not what I want. I wanted to do it occasionally. And because there's a theme and all the colors change, I can't really figure out something that tells me exactly where I am on the screen. And so I'm just going to make a blind movement. I'm going to go over and do something new. I'm going to go over and look at this limits stuff. This controls how often it will take action. So on the move outside icon that moves the mouse right over here, I'm going to do enable limits. I'm going to change the limit type to time. And I want it to only work every minute. I only want to go left every minute. I want it to repeat. And then wait first means wait a minute and then do it. That's what wait first means. So you can make it either run every time, or after it has happened. So every 1 minute, then move outside will work. So let's hit save and run. And it moved, and it won't actually fire again for 1 minute. So now we've got that set up. We went to the outside, and it didn't move. Okay, so here's a bit of a bug. Let's go ahead and hit, let's actually troubleshoot this. So it didn't do anything. I was expecting it to go into the dungeon, but it didn't work. And let's see if I move myself out of the way here. You can see that the cursor is on the gear. That cursor's on the gear, and I think that's one of the colors I actually used to check against. Let's test that out. Let's figure that out. I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Shift-Escape and look at some of the troubleshooting logs. So you can see on the right side is every time it takes a screenshot, it adds a number. And I thought I was in the outside. I can right-click on the outside in the Run tab and go to Compare All Runtime Images. That's going to check it against all of these. And let's do that. And you can see that some of these, the mouse is here. So let's move down to the one where the mouse is right on the gear. Here we go. So here's the issue. It found my colors. These are very similar, but they're a little bit off. I've got the mouse hand on the gear and the colors are off. Now, why did it do that? Well, what happened is it highlighted it. So when the mouse is on the gear, it's one color, background color, and when the mouse is above the gear, it's highlighted it. And that you can see the adjustment in the colors. They've changed a little bit or highlighted. This shows you the RGB values for that. And it says that at most, it's 8 pixels off on the blue. So 192 minus 200 is 8. How we fix that is with something already built in, which is if we're on the outside and you have the cursor on the gear. Now you could do two things. You could make an event that just moves it off the cursor. That would work. You can also go up to points right here and add some points. I'm going to add 8 points. So now it's going to be fuzzy on the RGB values at 8. And 8's not very much. They're still going to be very similar, but it'll still work. Go under key settings and you can decide how it does the keys. So there's really no need to automate that part of the game. Let's make another one, another group called warp. And the indicator for warp, let's look at that. How about using this sword? So a little red, little blue, little green, and a little gray. Add action. And let's make that just click the go. So let's call that click go. Later on, we'll add some extra stuff. But let's just build that, hit run, and now we're in the dungeon. So now my guys are in the dungeon, and we started off on level 1411. And so let's see, took about 10 hits to get that guy, and now we're going to fight people that can one-shot me. So maybe I've over-leveled myself just a little bit, and possibly my guys just cannot go any further. Although they're going to try, and they might make it, but probably not. So we died, and rather quickly. Didn't get any gear and some gold, and that's the issue about pushing it to the limit. Is once you push it to the limit, you may not actually go 10 levels and even make progress, or you need a little luck. But we have the loot time pop-up. Let's put that in our pop-ups screen. So add an event. This is called loot time. And the indicator would be, let's actually click on this bar here, this yellow bar, and then some of the exit. I'm going to grab the blue up here and a little of the edge. Doing that so that I can try to find a unique color combination and have it so it doesn't match any other screens. Now I'm going to again add an action. The action is going to be click on exit. Let's add some extra functionality here. So we have, if we're on our warp screen, click go. Let's go into there. Okay, so we don't want to just click go anymore. We might want to maybe go down 400 levels so our guys will have an easier time. They'll kill stuff faster, they'll get more gear, they'll get more gold before they get kicked out of the dungeon. Or we could go to level 1. That means they would be able to one-shot everything for quite a while. And so you want to balance that. And so what we will do, let's do this. Let's make one that goes up to the level 300, and we'll make one that goes to level that goes back 400. Let's write that. And we need a randomizer to randomly do one. So let's go, and I'm going to add random number, and I'm going to add some nodes onto there. 3, in fact. Let's call the last one do nothing. And I'm going to move the go button to the bottom. So whatever we do up here, we're going to do our thing up here and then click go. So this can be go to lower levels. And this one can be go back 400 levels. That's our node. So let's write that code. To go back to the lower levels, let's add an action. And let's exit out of here and go back into it. So it's reset. To go to the lower levels, we would want to click the up arrow 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we want to click 4 times. And we want to click on the up arrow, click green for, no, click the green button. So I'm going to hold control, or actually I'll right click and copy, and then click on the green node and right click and say paste sibling under, and it puts it under there. Or I can go to the parent node, right click, paste child under, and it puts that node there. And I think I wanted to do 4 green clicks. Now, these clicks have a back to home and after completion. That's not what I want. So I want it to continue. So I'm going to change it to continue on all 4 of those. Click the green, continue, click the green, continue, click the green, continue, click the green, continue. Add an action, click red, and continue. So now I have it already set up. And I'm going to I'm going to click on red, hold control, and click and drag it to back 400. It's going to make copies of it. Now I click red, click red, click red, click red. And then it drops down to go. Or go back 400 levels, or do nothing, which is play on max level. And then we click the go, and then we're done. So let's hit save. And before I hit run, okay, I'm on the regular screen and hit run. Our party's full. So it's going to go. Which one's it going to do? Well, it's going to do the up. And now we're in the dungeon. Now I can, at this level, my guys are a little more powerful. So we're earning gear and money much quicker than the last one. In fact, the last one we were killed before we actually got a whole lot of loot. And so this can be a strategy to level your guys, going to a lower level and moving forward. Move outside. It's actually, it's thinking that we're on the outside because of this screen we're on. I saw that happening. Kind of a bit of a bug here. So this one is firing. Move outside, and that's doing our party full. So we got a little bug in our code. That's great. Let's fix that. So move outside. So outside is firing, and we're in the dungeon. I'm going to hit test here, and it's passing. And that's because we're checking for the icon. So what can we do to alleviate that? The book. That book there would be a good key. Let's put the book in the script. So I'll just click on the book as part of the outside script. Hit save. That should cover that issue. So auto off. Sometimes the game will turn this off to do dialogue or something, and we don't want it to stop. So let's write this. And again, when the cursor's in the way, it may not see those colors. So I want to click on the edges and check on the right side. That's how I'm doing it. Let's go back to AppTestStudio, and we can put that in it's not really a pop-up, but we can put it in there anyway. In the pop-ups, we will add an event. The event is if we see auto off, I'm going to click on the blue, and I'm going to be careful just to catch some of the colors on the F, and being mindful that these white colors are usually white and black. 255, 255, 255 that are black are generally bad because those are used all over the place. So kind of get those out of there. Now this is too blue for my liking, so let's get a little of that gold in there and some of the grayer gold and some of the even darker gold. There we go. That's nice. These are too close, so let's get that out. Let's hit test a few times just to verify. Looking good. And let's change it to auto on and test and verify that it fails, and it does. Good. Okay. Let's turn it back off. Is auto off? Then what we want to do is add an action to turn it on. And again, clicking here, I'm clicking on this edge on the left side on purpose. The other option would be to click anywhere and then move the mouse with another action. I think we've automated the whole thing. So we've actually scripted the whole thing where it just plays. We didn't do the upgrade the sodas yet. So when you start a new dimension, the sodas get reset. Okay, working on the script. So let's go through this. I'm not going to make this part of the automation. And I am going to jump through this dialogue. It lets me pick something. Let's see. Gold is good. Health is better. I'm going to pick health. I'm not going to automate this. It's actually kind of fun to do. Every time you go to a new dimension, you get another component to add to your repertoire that you can spend essence on. And there's a bit of a story. Let's talk to him. And some letters, and talk to the wizard. All right. Now you can see that the dungeon turned red and the schema turned different colors. And also I have 6K in the bank. That's because I have upgraded some of the other things that give me money when I go to a new dimension. Okay, but look at this. We got all these soda junkies. Let's go ahead and start our script up just to see that it still works in this dimension. Oh, look, we ran into another bug. Let's figure that out. And we got these soda junkies here. And we're wondering, why didn't it click on the pop-up Hire Patron? I'm going to right-click on Hire Patron, go to Compare with All Runtime Images, and it's going to run all of them across all of these pictures that it's been collecting. And I know they go down to the bottom, so I'm just going to jump down there. And look what happened. Oh, it wasn't the mouse. It was actually some out of range stuff. Probably what's going on is if the mouse is on the button, it's probably highlighting it by changing some of the colors. And the red is off by 2, the green is off by 3, and the blue is off by 6. Let's just add 6 points to the Hire Patron. Hire Patron, 6 points, save and run. And now it works if the cursor is still on the hire button. And so it actually clicked on the blacksmith. So let's do that. Call this on blacksmith. If we're on the blacksmith, I'm going to grab some of this crystal, some of the gold, and a little bit of the blue. And that's my key. And the action's going to be click on the X. And I'm going to intentionally click on the left side of the X. And we're going to go into the dungeon. This is the first level of the dungeon. So we're on level 1. We don't have any gear, and so our guys are pretty basic at this point. And we just have the soda junkies because we haven't bought any of the sodas yet to have the other characters. You don't have to play the other characters, although I think they're a lot more fun because they have each one has a very unique ability. And some of them give you a huge advantage later on, especially combinations of having the healer And even the special characters have some unique abilities to combat some mechanics in the game. Or you can just brute force and just overlevel yourself. Either way works. The way experience works in this game is every time you kill something, the entire party gets experience. They get 1 experience. So I have 6 soda junkies, so I get 6 experience every time I kill something. So I get to a level very fast. When you're on the higher levels and you have to hit something 10 times, you still get 1 experience, but the gold and the gear is much better. As I'm going deeper into the dungeon, I'm getting better gear that I can equip my guys, and they'll equip it automatically. Let's do the sodas. I have 6.5k, and for 15 gold, I can buy the carpenter soda and have him, the miner, the nurse for 400, chef, and these go up to, I believe, 1 million. So let's see. So what we want to do is automate this. So there's a couple of issues. There's a couple of tricky parts to this. First is, if you click here, it doesn't move, and here it doesn't move. So these are fixed positions. When you click on the nurse, it still doesn't move. When I move over to click on the other stuff, it scrolls. So we need to do a fixed position check for the carpenter, fixed position check for the miner, a very careful fixed position check for the nurse, and then we're going to need to scroll over for the other stuff. So let's write and then of course, once you get past to the end, this is in fixed position. If it's blue, buy. If it's blue, buy. And if it's gray, we exit an event. And let's call this we'll just call it the soda upgrades. All right, the first check is add an event. Then we're going to check to see that we have the pink one in there. And this is called Carpenter. If it's pink, then we need to click on buy. I'm not going to click just yet. What I'll do is I'll move the mouse over it just for fun. Later on, I'll change it to click. And then the next one, add an event. If this is those colors for the miner, then add an action, change it to move, and click on the buy. And then add an event. That's going to be the nurse. So pink here, pink here, pink here. And this is called nurse. And that one's going to be an add an action of move to buy. Now, unfortunately, these actions go back to home, so it's just going to constantly just do the carpenter one over and over. In fact, we can just do that. And you can see it's just running the carpenter script over and over by doing that move. All right, let's make this a real buy. That way, so we'll change this to click, change that one to click, change the nurse to click, save, and run. Now it's going to, oh look, it's clicking around in the screen doing something else. So let's investigate the bug. I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Escape to stop the script. And it's actually clicking miner over and over again. Why is it doing that? Oh, okay. Little mistake on my part. So I checked the colors and then I clicked miner, but it's still on the carpenter. So we need to do two things. Right click, add an action. First thing we need to do is click on miner, and I'm going to be careful not to click where my colors are. Click on the miner and then hit continue. Then we click buy. And let's also, instead of calling it click carpenter, which we're not doing, we're actually clicking buy. Okay, and then nurse, we need to click on the nurse and When I say click on the nurse, I mean this part just here, so it doesn't scroll. We're going to continue. Then we're going to click on buy. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to take a screenshot just so I can see it, and I'm going to click on buy. So click on the nurse, hit continue, and then click buy. Save. Let's click back. Let's exit. Let's go into sodas and hit save and run. And now it's going to buy each one. Now this gets trickier, right? If I click here, of course, it scrolls real fast. So I need to do the scrolly part, but let's go over to the unscrolly part. This is another fixed position screen, but let's do the scrolly part. This is just to show you how to do the scroll. So let's do that. This is going to be a little tricky, but a little bit clever. So I'm looking for this top part in guidance. As I move over to the top, right past the sword, it is scrolling. All right, so if I were to click right past the swords are key. So let's do that. I forgot, we're not actually checking if we're on the soda screen. We need to do that. And if you look, when you click on the different icons, things in the screen change. But we want to key off something that says we're on this screen. And something that's not changing is this background. So on our soda upgrades, I'm going to click on some of the colors in the star field. Get a little red. So this should be an indicator that I'm in the star field, all of those colors. Let's save it and hit test. All right, that looks good. We actually need to scroll until we get to you don't have enough money, really. So we can just blindly, oh yeah, that's nice. When you don't have enough money, does the yellow change? Oh yeah, okay. So between these two, I'm seeing this yellow is changing. This could be an indicator we could key off of, be a little bit smarter. Let's add an action. The action is going to be called click scroll. And we're going to click right here. And then where we're going to click scroll, we're going to continue. And then we're going to, actually, that's all we're going to do. We just need to click scroll. Let's see that run. Oh, well, that's not what I want. Actually, I needed to do something. It kind of works. Not exactly what I want. I actually want to make it a little more obvious. Because if you move it there, it just stays and scrolls. I want to click scroll, and then I want to add an action of move the mouse out of the way. I want to move the mouse. So this part scrolls. Move the mouse over here. So click scroll, and I'm going to add 200 milliseconds. And then we'll move the mouse out of the way, which is move it past the heart. Save and run. And now it's going to do that. And it's going to keep doing it. Now, this is a little slow, so maybe we'll tweak it a little bit. Still working, but I think we can do a little longer in the position. So let's go and change this to 400. So it'll scroll a little faster. And I'm going to move my mouse all the way back over. Okay, looks good. And we clicked on the hunter. Now we clicked on the dark mage. And then we clicked on that and we're continuing. Okay, So let's make a exit condition. Let's call the exit, we need two exit conditions. One when we click on a soda and the color of orange is there. So let's put that in there. Let's call this, we'll add an event and call this exit conditions. Exit conditions, and I'm going to drag that to the top. I want this to be checked first. The first exit condition is the presence of, and I'm going to use my little mouse at cursor thing to find it, that yellowy tint. See that yellowy tint? It actually told me that one. I'm going to use that. So if we're on this screen and I find yellow here or here, that's a exit. Actually, let me get that out. I want to actually use exit conditions as my grouper. We'll add a new event. And so this is expensive, or no money. So we don't have money to buy something. I'll click on two of the yellows. If we don't have any money, then the action is going to be click on the X. The secondary exit condition is that we are at the end of the scroll. The end of the scroll would be let's scroll over and take a screenshot. Now, let's say I couldn't get it to work. Like, it looks like every time I tab out, it's moving the mouse, and I really want to screenshot while I'm in the application. You can hit Ctrl-Alt-Shift-F1. It will take a screenshot of the current screen. Let me just do that again to show you. I'm going to delete this. So we're at the end of the scroll grouper, and I want to add another screenshot. I'm going to go into the app, get it to where I want it to be, Ctrl-Alt-Shift, and then F1. And it added the event with the current screen in case you need fine-tuned scrolling. And so this one, if we're at the end, we are going to end of the scroll. Then we're going to add an action of exit. And I'm going to click on the left part. Now we haven't written the next part, which is scrollable buying. But it's pretty easy, which is we have our scroll. I'm going to intentionally put a bug in here just to debug it, okay? So let's go ahead and do that, right? Add an event. The event is this yellow bar 2, 3, and this is buyable soda. And the action is to click the buy button. So buyable soda, if it is true, then we want it to go to the buy soda. Accept, save, and let's scroll off. Let's let's do that. We're at first position. Save and run. Now, it didn't buy anything. Why is that? It's just scrolling. It's not buying. Now it hit the exit condition and it exited. So the exiting worked, but the buying did not. And I said I was going to put a bug in here, and I did on purpose. See how the scroll code is in front of the buyable soda? Let's move buyable soda up by hitting Control up arrow. It is now ahead of it. And let's run the same script. We're in the first position, hit save and run, and here we go. We're scrolling. This should buy it this time, and it does. Now we're scrolling. We're in position, and it buys. Scrolling. We're in the exit condition, and we exit. Now, we didn't actually tell it to go into here and buy the sodas, but we want to do that. So if we're in the tavern, add an event called, let's move that to the first part. Let's call this check for some new sodas. Now you could make it smarter than what I'm going to do. I'm just going to check it every time, but I don't want it to check it. Yeah, I wanted to check it every time, but let's put some limits on it. So let's make a time limit, only check every 5 minutes. That should check it every single time I go into the dungeon. And we're going to have it repeat. So every 5 minutes, it will reset, and we'll only check every 5. Now, you might want to set this to an hour or 2 hours or something so that you don't actually have it going through that slow process, even though the way we're making the script, it can run 24/7. So the check for new sodas is going to be add an action. The action is going to be click, and let's do continue, and then add another action. And this is going to be click on sodas. Sodas. So this is also called click the bar. So we click the bar, then we click on sodas. And the important part is I click the bar and then I continue. Then click on sodas and go back to home. So let's make that work. And it's one of the first tests, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's exit the bar just to see it work. Save and run. Go into the bar. It's going to do the soda check, and we're going to do that same process. We're going to scroll. It doesn't take too long, and you could always optimize this to go faster. We didn't actually write anything for this screen. Let's do that, though. Green up, let's put that in the pop-ups. And importantly, the pop-ups is a lower level than our check. Let's check for that. So let's check for a little bit of this decoration and a couple of key components, maybe this blue in the corner. And this is on upgrades, sodas, and customize. If we're on it, then we want to add an action. Action is click the lower left of the X. Oh, and what's it doing? It's not working. Let's find out why. I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Shift-Escape, and the cursor is up here. You can see all our guys. So the expectation would be that we're on the outside. Let's do some. First of all, let's do some tests. Are we in the tavern? Let's go to the design view. In the tavern, test. We are in the tavern. Is not enough players? Test. So that works. I think what happened was I probably had this highlighted. Let's see, in the tavern has this highlighted. I bet this was highlighted. Let's go figure it out, though. Let's check for sure. In the tavern, right-click, compare to runtime images. Let's go back in here and go down to where the mouse was on the guys. And yeah, the event is 10. So it looks like we have about a 10 fail. 10's the range, so let's just add 10 points to handle that. In the tavern, let's do 10 points. That covers when you put the mouse over the icon and it highlights. Expectation is it's going to build the party now. And looks like we're already all set. So we have the soda upgrade, we have the guys playing. And next time I go into the tavern, it's going to have all of the characters that I just purchased. Oh, I guess I have to go into the dungeon first. Okay. We're doing our back check and going in. So this time my guys have more gear. some armor on that guy, some extra weapons, and they're hitting a little harder. And as they go deeper in the dungeon, they'll get better gear. But so now we have it pretty much fully built to automate everything in here so far. Okay, so this pop-up happens, I think, every time at level 81. Let's automate that too. So let's consider this one of the pop-ups. Right-click, add an event. We're going to event for this green button here. Let's see, green button. And add an action of click it and clicking on the bottom left corner again. Let's move that 3 out of the way. It's too close to my mouse. Put it right there. Save and run. All right, there we go. So we got that taken care of. Looks like I'm having an issue with the auto off button again. The auto off button again, it's probably the highlight. Let's Control-Shift-Escape it. And is auto off. Let's add some highlighting points. About 10 should do it. Save and run. And now it's working. We don't need to automate the keys because there's settings in the warp configuration for that, including fairy keys and warp keys. I have fairy and warp turned on. Okay, I caught it stuck on hire a patron, so we wanted to check that out. We already have 6 points on it. Let's go to run and do hire patron. Right click and compare runtime images. And look what happened here. It could be that the mouse was in the way. That's probably what happened. So the cursor was in the way on the mouse. What to do with that? I think what we need to do is, so this is after the hire. What we should do is move the mouse out of the way to make this work. So when you click on one, just move the mouse out of the way. Let's do that. I'm going to put the hire button underneath each one. So you would click the thief looking left, and then you would click the hire button. So let's do that. I'm going to control and drag. You'll see the plus sign. If I let go, it doesn't have the plus. See the plus sign? And drag it there. And then control down arrow to move it to the bottom. And let's clean this one up. Click hire party member. Yeah, that's fine. We can call it that. A critical factor, though, is because it's underneath a object search, we don't want it to actually center this icon, because what it'll do is it'll center it to wherever wherever it found the image that it's looking for. And so we don't want to do that. And so it's important to make sure you turn use object search position off when you're doing that. So to click thief looking left, we do want to use object search position, but for the hire party member, we just want to literally click in the XY position. Okay, I'm going to control and click and then down. There we go. All set. So, and then also an important part is, so when we find it, this is use object search position. And the important thing is there's a continue here. Then it'll go down into the click hire member and work. And then we have a catch all over here too. So if we happen to see it on the screen, then we'll click hire if we somehow start in that position and it doesn't find anything. Now we're going to build our party, or what's left of it. And now we are moving along good. I'm going to stop it right there. The other reason that we don't want it to, we want it to click hire right after it and not just keep finding it is our threshold. We could have worked our threshold so that the grayed out area would work, but this one's not grayed out and it's kind of in our cropping window. it could possibly catch and find the picture here. So that's why we want to have the higher clicked. Let's say it accidentally clicks this window. Let's go ahead and add that to our script. Sometimes you could maybe misclick. Let's put that in the pop-ups. Click some of these little decorations. And maybe even the X there. And this is some kind of details screen. And our only action is to close it and hit save. Now that if it's on the screen when we start the game, it'll figure it out. Add another event. Find the green, add an action. Click the green arrow. Let's go ahead and name it right. Green arrow. Save and run. This is kind of where I like to just manually do the rest because it's a lot of one-off stuff. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You should be able to apply these techniques to other applications. To get AppTestStudio, go to GitHub and search for AppTestStudio. You have the full source code, and you can also run the releases right out of the box. Go to Releases, grab the latest release. You can unzip it to a folder and run it. In this video, I showed you how you could automate an application and make it run 24/7. Search YouTube for more tutorials on AppTestStudio. There's a series that has every single functionality explained in a very simple to follow format. Thanks.